Drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today on this terrific Tuesday, or Taco Tuesday, or Tequila Tuesday, or whatever Tuesday you want to call it? This is the TFG Sports Show, and I am your host, the sports guy Kendrick Henderson, and we're going to give you the best 30 minutes of sports talk on social media. Glad you joined me this evening. I have a guest. My man Kennard is going to be joining us a little later. But until then, it's just me, and we're going to get this thing started. But before we jump into the show, need you to come in, comment, let me know you're watching, and let me holler at you, speak to me. Also, don't forget to like and share this broadcast to all your social media platforms. And just sit back and relax for the next 30 minutes and enjoy the ride with the sports guy, Kendrick Henderson. I sound like a radio DJ when I said that. I made myself laugh. So, yeah, we're going to have a good time tonight. We got the World Series that's going to be getting started here, too, a little bit after 7, the Astros and the Braves. So after this, you can flip it on over and check out the World Series. So let's jump right into this thing. We're going to do an NFL. You know what we do? Our NFL recap. This week 8, NFL. Almost halfway through the season. We getting there. We getting buys from each team. So the dust is starting to settle. It's starting to clear a little bit. We're seeing what teams that we think that got what it takes, and some that we say like, it may be the end of the road at week 8. I know it's still early, but now, like I say, the dust is beginning to clear just a little bit. So we're going to start off with the game that I think that everybody was probably want to tune into. It was the Kansas City Chiefs, who were 3-3 at the Tennessee Titans, who were 4-2. This was the Sunday game on CBS at noon. The Chiefs came in reeling. I mean, they needed this win. And the Titans was coming in confident after that big win they had over Buffalo on, I believe, that Monday night. So this game, the Chiefs they got spanked. Chiefs got handed it. They got handed to them, 27-3. They didn't even score. They were blanked at halftime. I think this is the first time since Patrick Mahomes been the starter for Kansas City that they didn't even score a touchdown in the game. Yeah, Tennessee was up 27-0 at half. Thing is about this too, the Chiefs have trailed in 5 of the 7 games thus far this year. They have having to play from behind. So it's been a tough thing for them. What's going on, Lamar? Thanks for joining me, my brother. Appreciate you. Chiefs only had 67 yards of total offense and 4 first downs in the first half. This game just it was just sloppy from the beginning to the end. The Chiefs defense, they can't stop a nosebleed, and I said it and I said it again. What's going on, second son? How you doing, baby bro? Appreciate you joining me. Kansas City Chiefs defense, at this point, I don't know how you're gonna stop, how you can fix it. I think the defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, he might be on the hot seat. I don't know if you can change DCs in the middle of the season. I think you just got to ride it out. Hey, good evening, Britannica Lynn. How you doing, big sis? Appreciate you tuning in to me. So we just going to go over the stat lines real quick. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes is 20 for 35 for 206 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Their leading receiver was Byron Pringle. He had 5 receptions, 73 yards. Now for Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill was 21. He was solid, 21-27, 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Running back Derrick Henry, he carried the ball 29 times, only 86 yards. So the Chiefs defense did handle the run pretty well. Tennessee wide receiver A.J. Brown, he did all the damage. He had 8 receptions, 133 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, team stats, the total yards for this game, Tennessee, 369 yards. Kansas City, 334 yards. Passing, Tennessee, 266. Kansas City, 257. Rushing, Tennessee only had 103 yards rushing. Kansas City had 77 yards rushing. Now, Tennessee was 2 for 4 in the red zone. They scored two out of the 4 times they were there. Kansas City was 0 for 3 in the red zone. Turnovers, 3 for Tennessee, 1 for Kansas City. It's kind of funny. Tennessee had all the turnovers, but Kansas City couldn't capitalize on them. So again, Kansas City is in trouble. They're now 3 and 4 in that AFC West, and they've actually lost one. They've 1 and 4 in the AFC this season. They've lost 2 of their last 3. They've been held to the fewest points since 38-3. Lost to Denver in 2012. So yeah, Kansas City is in disarray. I think the offense is erratic and the defense is trash. And joining me now is my fam, my man Kennard with Vernon Speaks Sports, all things Auburn and SEC. Kennard, thanks for joining me this evening, family. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good. Glad to join again. Know it's been a few weeks and a lot has transpired since the last time we've talked, and definitely glad to be on tonight.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going over this Kansas City Tennessee game, the NFL recap from Week 8.
Okay.
And Kansas City, I just basically said right now Kansas City is in a free fall.
Hey, Britannica, how you doing?
Yeah, I don't know how they can fix it. I think Mahomes is trying to do too much to overcompensate for the bad defense he has, and he's making some bad decisions. What's your take on this on Kansas City and this game? If you know what you thought about what?
Well, when you look at a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, you look at the idea of a quarterback who's had a lot of success, and now he's hit that rough patch. Things that aren't going as great as as it had been in the past for him. They made some changes on defense. The defense is not as playing as consistently as they have in the past, and he probably starting to feel that pressure to duplicate the same success that he's had before, but he just doesn't have the same resources. So I think he's just going to have to be patient, take what the defenses give him, not try to do too much and try to and wind up getting himself injured, and possibly be able to salvage this season and maybe even be able to sneak in as far as a wild card type situation, get some key victories down the stretch because the schedule does dictate that he can do it. But at the same time, you got it. One thing about a quarterback is you can't get in that the pressure's on my shoulders role to where you start to do things that become counterproductive.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what he's doing. And the reason why, Kennard, because of that defense. That defense can't stop anybody. So he knows he's going to have to score. He's going to have to make big plays. And like you say, that's what causes now the offense is just out of sync. And he did take a nasty hit. He didn't even play the fourth quarter. He took a nasty sack. His neck snapped back.
Oh,
luckily he passed all the concussion protocols, so he probably will. I'm sure he'll play this coming Monday night against the Giants. So, but you spot on with everything. But I think Kansas City gonna have a long road. I think they already looking up in their division already. So I don't know what they just got to take it one game at a time. I guess when you're in the rut, you got to just take it one game at a time.
Hell yeah, because I mean when you're in that mid-range portion of the season, and we're going to talk a little bit about this when we start talking about SEC football. When you're in that mid-range of the season, by that time you've already established what the identity of your team is going to be. You started to figure out who's going to be the leaders down the stretch, and then by now you should have started to gain a little bit more momentum leading into what could be a possible playoff. But if Kansas City is everything that you're describing at this point, they're instead of being in momentum mode, they're in trying to stop the bleeding mode. That's exactly a bad position to be in. In the mid-range portion of the season where you're trying to establish whether you're going to even make the playoffs or not. What's going on, Lamar? Whether you're going to make the playoffs. So it's going to be this is a dangerous crossroad, I think, for teams in similar situations to Kansas City.
Yeah, they're in survival mode. So we're gonna see how they handle it. Yeah, they're in survival mode. So we're gonna move to this other game real quick. We're gonna run through it because I had to talk about them. Houston Texans, since the Dallas Cowboys is on the bye. I said, well, let me talk about this other Texan team.
Right.
But we really talked about the Cardinals because They undefeated. Obviously, they beat the doggone Texans 31-5. And what's funny, that actual score 31-5, that is like the 1,068th unusual score in NFL history. That final score has never been had in NFL history. So it's like the 1,068th unusual score in NFL history. Just to make
a problem with this. So you mean to tell me we're paying guys millions of dollars to score 5 points?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
At least get 10.
Yeah, right. But look at the Texans. Look at their quarterback situation. Davis Mills. He's not it. They don't have any offensive firepower, none whatsoever. They trading away their best players. They just traded their defensive tackle, Merciless, to the Packers. So yeah, they in rebuild mode from the Deshaun Watson. A week from now, we're probably going to be talking about, is he still a Texan? Because that's the trade deadline next Tuesday. So anyway, I just want to mention the Cardinals still undefeated. They played my Packers this Thursday night. So it's the Packers and Cardinals, 7-0 against 6-1. So we're going to see how that goes. I just wanted to mention that real quick. DeAndre Hopkins and J.J. Watt actually played against the Texans. Their first time playing against their former teams since they left Houston. J.J. Watt had a tackle for loss, and DeAndre Hopkins had a touchdown catch. So we're done with that. So we're going to move on to the next. 3 Cowboys players were fined after the Patriots game. CeeDee Lamb was fined $10,300 for unsportsmanlike conduct for waving at Jalen Mills after his game-winning overtime touchdown catch. Cornerback Trevon Diggs was fined $7,981 for unnecessary roughness in the first quarter. He grabbed Mikael Harry's face mask. And offensive lineman Connor Williams was fined $16,394 for unsportsmanlike conduct in the final seconds of the fourth quarter. I want to talk about the CeeDee Lamb in particular. Do you think that warranted a fine, Kennard? Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but based on what you told me, I was just thinking like, damn, you got fined $10,000 for that.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
I mean, for what did he do? Because they wave at the crowd all the time.
No, he scored the winning touchdown in overtime. So once he crossed the goal line, Jalen Mills pushed him, which that could have been unnecessary roughness too. But then when he got up, Mills was like this, well, in his end, he just waved bye-bye to him. But I had to say, when I saw that, I said, uh-oh. I said, under the new NFL rules, that could be considered taunting. I said, I think they're going to catch him for that. And they sure did. They gave him unsportsmanlike conduct for that, and they fined him $10,300 for it.
And I kind of get it. Also, though, Deion Sanders better be glad he ain't in the league no more, because all that stuff he used to do.
Man,
I guess I was thinking, I haven't kept up with the rules of the NFL, so I don't know all of the. Now, if that is taunting. I mean, that is taunting.
Under the new rules that they just passed, it is taunting.
Does that deserve $10,000 though? I can't really really wrap my head around that. But I bet you won't do it again though.
Yeah,
he's gonna keep it when he scores. He's gonna keep his hand in his pocket.
Yeah, right. Because they definitely got it in his back pocket. Yeah, that's stupid. I agree, Lamar. It's stupid. I've always said the NFL is just taking it too far when it comes to celebrations.
That's why we watch. I mean, when I did watch the NFL like that, I used to just get a kick out of seeing them do these crazy celebrations, where the whole team would do this dance routine and all these other things. And now, if you taking a wave, if a wave is, you might as well just score and just walk to the sideline.
I mean, I don't know if you saw it, and just to piggyback off of this one, I watched the highlights of the Iowa State and the Oklahoma State. Did you see the touchdown they took away from Iowa State from the kid? And they said he was he kind of, when he scored, he did his hands like this. They threw an unsportsmanlike conduct play and was nobody around him and took away the touchdown.
And that things like that. Also, the one that really kills me in college football right now is the targeting penalty.
I don't like that. I can't stand it.
They're gonna have to do some things in the offseason to really revise how they penalize that or how they rule that particular play, as far as how long a player should sit out or if they should sit out. They got to do something different with that.
Yeah, you're right. They got to do
it's usually
something
most targeting penalties that I've seen, there's no malice behind it. It's just the course of collision and playing football.
I've said it's to play defense in today's football game is really it's difficult because the way you have to tackle, you got to lead with your shoulder. I mean, there's so many different ways that I think it's limited to how defenses can really tackle and even play aggressive. I just don't like these targeting rules and all that. So it's
tough,
crazy.
Man.
It's tough. And speaking of targeting, and we get ready to move to college football since we were talking about Iowa State. Let me say this: the Cowboys played the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday night. This is the Sunday night game in Minnesota. So we're gonna move on to the SEC conference recap. This is my man, my fam, Kennard. He's all SEC, specifically Auburn. Just want to go through a couple of things, and then we're gonna talk about what's coming up in the SEC conference this week, Kennard. The AP Top 25. Georgia's still number 1. Alabama moved up to number 3. They skipped over Oklahoma. Ole Miss is 10. Kentucky is number 12. Texas A&M is ranked 14th. Auburn is at 18. Scores from last week: Bama beat Tennessee 52-24. Ole Miss defeated LSU 31-17. A&M beat South Carolina 44-14. Arkansas beat Arkansas Pine Bluff 45-3. And Mississippi State defeated Vanderbilt 45-6. And guess what? Ole Miss, number 10, is at Auburn. My man Vernon, you got to go ahead and what you got for me? Talk to me about what we can expect.
I think this is going to be a really huge game for both Auburn and Ole Miss. Ole Miss definitely trying to establish themselves as a legitimate power in the SEC West. One good thing about Ole Miss, is that they've improved almost 100 yards in yards that they give away on defense. And if you think about it, that's going to be a huge thing going into this Auburn game, especially with Ole Miss's ability to move the football, especially under Matt Corral, who depending on who's voting, he could be considered a Heisman candidate at this point. I think he's one of the top quarterbacks in the country. He moves well in the pocket. He's very intuitive as a passer, and he's just tough. It's just a really tough kid. I think, Ole Miss's ability to take advantage of the intermediate passing game, which Auburn has struggled with, and also kind of combine that with the ability to run the football. Auburn has had some vulnerabilities as far as giving up chunk plays. So if Matt Corral can take advantage of that, that gives Ole Miss a good opportunity to come into Auburn and possibly upset a very physical, a very disciplined Auburn team.
Yeah, I hate that we didn't get to chat about Auburn. Was it Georgia? Who was it that they played last?
Yeah, played Georgia. Well, they played.
Who did they play?
They played Arkansas last week.
Okay.
And the week before, taking on Georgia, and I think you've started to see some progressive improvement with Auburn, especially being under the new coaching staff. The wide receivers played lights out against Arkansas, catching those passes that they had vulnerabilities of missing early in the season. I also think if Auburn is going to have a chance, they've struggled mightily since starting SEC play. They can't run the ball. Now the Auburn has been able to get some big plays when they need it, but as far as establishing a ice cold running game to keep defenses off balance, to make the pass even more relevant, I think they got to run the ball, and it can't be a situation where they got to get back to where they were at the beginning of the season, where between Jarquez Hunter and Tank Bigsby, they got to get back to that 5.66 yard per carry to not only give Auburn some good opportunities in down and distance, but also create some imbalance, because Ole Miss is good on defense, but they're really not good against offenses that have proven to be potent, like your Alabamas and teams like that. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Now, what time is that game? Is that
that game? That's a 6 o'clock game. They haven't decided. 6 o'clock game, I want to say on ESPN2.
Okay.
ESPN2.
Okay. Let me get. We're gonna move to another game. What you think? Your insight, your take on Georgia at Florida?
I think this is going to be Kirby Smart's most important game. This is a team that he tends to struggle with. He tends to play tight against. They have gotten some nice wins over Florida, but Florida has been the team since Kirby Smart has been in the SEC conference that has literally stood in his way between Florida and Alabama. They've stood in his way to greatness. I will say this: if Georgia finds a way to lose this game, which they absolutely should not, Kirby Smart, of course, is not going to be on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the year, based on what I've seen from Georgia talent wise, they got to push this thing past the SEC championship this year. They just got to.
I totally agree
you
with
talk
you.
about all those recruiting classes. It's starting to add up to where, look, either you're gonna shit or get off the pot. Excuse my language, or get off the pot.
No, we grown. Hey, you good. but yeah, I totally agree with that. And I still stick to it. I think right now Georgia defense is the key to their success. I really do. I believe because they got some dogs on that defensive side of the football. I'm just being honest.
There's nobody in the country better than them on defense.
No, none whatsoever. And I think that's where Alabama is vulnerable. I think they're more vulnerable on the defensive side. So, and I'm with you, Georgia. They got to push this thing because it's theirs to win. I think
they're hands down, in my opinion, the most talented top to bottom team outside of the iffy play of the quarterback. But even the quarterback has come on.
Yeah,
Georgia top to bottom is the best team in college football.
Yeah. No doubt about it. In your opinion?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Because there's so many ways that we could talk about this on a separate video. There's so many ways that they beat you both psychologically, physically, and they're so well developed and they're so well coached. And that, as a combination, is a powder keg for a potential top 4 team. And the crazy part about it is they're playing without arguably who could have been one of the best wide receivers in college football this year, and George Pickens, who's out with an ACL injury. So if they had him, imagine how explosive their offense could be.
Yeah, they got some mad talent over there. So, all right, Georgia Bulldogs, we're going to see what happened on Saturday. We got some good football games, and also number 12, Kentucky is at Mississippi State as well. So we got some good football games coming in that SEC, and we're going to, if you want to know all things in SEC conference, my man Vernon Speaks Sports, Auburn, he's the man. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to his YouTube channel. And keep it locked here because he's going to be with me every other Tuesday, whenever his schedule can. All right, we're going to move on to, this is definitely a subjective topic. The NBA is celebrating their 75th year. This is their diamond anniversary, and they unveiled their 75 greatest players. But we're going to talk about players that I'm going to give my 4 that I think were snubbed. Now, everybody probably know the Michael Jordans, the Larry Birds, and Bill Russells, the Kareems. They all made the team. It's a lot of names on this list. It's some names that, in my opinion, is questionable. Now, I'm gonna name our 4 that's not on the list that I think should be on it, Kennard, and I want you to tell me what you think. And this is 75 players. We're talking about the 75 greatest players in NBA history. Here's 4 that's not on that list. Number 1, Grant Hill. Number 2 is Dwight Howard. Number 3 is Vince Carter. And number 4 is Penny Hardaway. Do you think those 4 were snubbed?
I'm going to have to casually disagree. With you on them being a part of the list, because you have a situation with Anthony Hardaway where he was great when he was healthy. But you just look at a lot. He just doesn't have a huge body of work. Now, if he would have followed up his body of work with the same consistency as which he played when he was healthy, then hell yeah, put him on the list. Same thing with Grant Hill. Grant Hill was one of the best shooters I've ever seen. He was one of the most agile players that I've ever seen in person. However, Grant Hill could not stay healthy. Matter of fact, I think this is really an unfair list because
it's subjective.
75 players over the course of the NBA, and then you have most of what you see are the greats of the mid to late 80s and the early 90s. That's when the NBA really started to take its level of greatness. So you're going to have all those Tim Duncans and Charles Barkleys and Michael Jordans during, who are going to take those spots during the NFL glory day. I mean, the NBA glory days. So the fact that those 4 guys didn't make the list really doesn't surprise me. And I'm glad you helped me out, because I was trying to figure out who else could have been on the list. And those 4 easily could have.
Yeah, but what I'm gonna tell you is some players that's on here that these players are better than, to me, over their career. Damian Lillard is on the list. He made the 75. Now you telling me Damian Lillard is better than Grant Hill?
When did Damian Lillard play?
He's playing now. He's a current player for the Trailblazers. So Steph Curry is on the list, and I'm not saying Steph Curry is not a great player, but it's some names on these 75 greatest this list that I question. Now I'm gonna say this: of all those 4 I named, I would say Dwight Howard is probably the only one that really got snubbed. Because listen to what Dwight Howard has done. He's averaged 16.1 points over his career, 12.1 rebounds over his career. He was NBA Defensive Player of the Year, 09, 2010, 2011. He made the All-NBA team, 2010, 2011, 2012. He made the NBA All-Defensive team, 2010, 2011, 2012. And he's not on that list. And I know Dwight Howard is probably considered like a goofball, but that ain't what this list is about. It's about players. And I don't care what nobody say. Dwight Howard was a beast when he was at Orlando.
He really was. I mean, he really seriously was. And also, I think in an effort to encompass all the eras of NBA basketball, I think that's why you have a list like this. You just can't include everybody.
It's subjective. Again, like I say, it's some players on here that I don't think that I would consider the 75 greatest players, because obviously they did the top 50 in 1996, and there were some players left off, i.e. Dominique Wilkins, which I thought should have been in the top 50. Didn't make that list, but he did make the top 75. So
Dominique Wilkins, I think if he would have snuck a championship or something in there during his era, because he was kind of
Charles Barkley didn't win no championship.
Yeah, he was overshadowed. He was overshadowed by the Michael Jordans and all of those of that time. But Dominique Wilkins definitely should have been on the list.
Yeah. So that's the NBA unveiled the 75 greatest players. Again, it's all subjective. It's like, just like men when it comes to women. We all like what we like. What makes it look good to you may not look good to me. So it's not no right or wrong with this list. I just thought a couple of players got snubbed. Anyway, all right, NBA, next time y'all do a list, y'all call your boy. Y'all need to get this right.
Yeah, you can help him out.
Yeah, I can help it out with it. All right, my man Kennard, we down to our final thoughts. Talk to me. What we got? What you got?
I just think if NFL players know these rules, I mean, you deserve to get fined. If this is now, they hit you up though, especially Connor Williams. They hit him up for almost.
They hit him up, yeah.
And when I look at the list between these 3 guys, we're talking about a bad economy. They've just, between the 3 of them, it's some people who don't make that in a year.
Got that.
So I think that's another eye-opening thing as far as how much these guys really make and how much the league is able to take from them if they do something crazy. Also the list, I think the list is somewhat fair. Like you said before, there's some guys that I absolutely should have been on that list, but in 75 players over the course of the history of the NBA, kind of hard to fit everybody in. Georgia is the best team in college football. Alabama is close. I don't think Alabama is consistent enough to beat Georgia right now, but Georgia's hands down the best team in college football, period. Definitely the best in the SEC. They should win the SEC conference this year. I like the Dallas Cowboys. I really like how Dak Prescott and those guys are really gelling together, especially at the right time. They're getting some key wins, and a lot of those Dallas Cowboys, even here in Atlanta, a lot of those Dallas, we're back, all that stuff is starting to come to play. I saw this one lady, I'm talking about to get up from top to bottom. So they feel like the Cowboys, as a fan base, they're starting to, I think they're being casually optimistic because they've been hurt a little bit.
Exactly.
But they really are starting to get that and don't let them mess around and win that Super Bowl we will not hear the
Well,
end. Just like in the 90s when they won every year, had who was that? Emmitt Smith and Deion Sanders and all. Probably some of the best football I've seen in the pros.
Yeah, you're right.
And they look really good. The last game I saw them play was against the New York Giants, and they look really good in that game.
Well, you know, people they said that they probably struggled a little bit against New England. They really didn't struggle. They just had some miscues. If they had them turnovers, that happens. Good teams learn how to beat a bad team, even if they don't play well.
What's nice is when you have the miscues and you still win. It's easier to learn. I don't give a damn what y'all say. It's easier to learn from a win than it is from a loss. So I mean, they keep winning. They keep doing their thing. You might see they got to at least make the NFC Championship. Do that for your fan base.
Yeah, it's NFC Championship or bust. You know, in my final thoughts, I'm just going to kind of piggyback off of you too, Kennard, about the NFL and its taunting. I think it's ridiculous. I think when you want to find guys, and these are grown men that you're finding, there are humans. They have emotions. It's football. It's entertainment, and you want to find guys for having fun, for scoring. Because it's hard to score. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's hard to score. And if he, if you don't want him in the end zone dancing in your end zone, then keep him out. That's the way the game is played. So I think the NFL is ridiculous when it comes to that. But we're gonna keep watching. My last thought is Houston Astros, Atlanta Braves. I'm not a big baseball fan, but they about to stay in the World Series. You know, the Astros were labeled the cheaters the last time they went. And so now they get to redeem themselves against the Braves. We're rooting for the Astros. Again, I'm not a big baseball fan, but they are a Texas team. So I'm going to root for them a little bit more than I probably root for the Cowboys. And I know I'm going to get some hate for that. So, hey.
The Cowboys fans will be all right.
Hey, Vernon, tell them where they can find you and where they can come check you out.
Well, actually, you look me up on YouTube at Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn, where I primarily talk about Auburn, or you can find me on platforms like this one. Also platforms like occasionally I'll go on Mark Rogers TV on YouTube, who's a very big college football podcaster. And that's it. You know, I'm on pretty much every other day. Took a break last week because it was a bye week, but we're back at it. Going to do the Ole Miss preview tomorrow, and we'll just move on from there.
All right. Hey, this is my fam, Kennard. He's Vernon Speaks Sports for Auburn. This has been your sports guy, Kendrick, with TFG Sports Media. And you know where to find me again right here, next Tuesday, 6:30. Have a great evening until next Tuesday. We out. Peace.
Yes, sir. Enjoyed the show, y'all.
That money clip us